Hello and welcome, as it is the 13th day of February 2018. My name is Derek. Welcome. I'm going to talk about stocks in this video, and I'm going to start off with the code AAPL, Apple, which is in at 164.34. Price action has just made it in within the 18 average band on the monthly after leaving it the end of the year 2016. So it spent a good year and a tiny chunk more on its leg higher, and it's had its first decent correction via small one through price before periods going sideways. It would be cool to be able to buy things like this, especially in situations where you feel cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and Litecoin, might be in for a decent retracement. And I think there's going to come a time very soon when stocks are going to be on the blockchain, for it makes the most logical sense to be such. Therefore, if I go on the exchange and I turn Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, what have you, I could buy maybe a few hundred Apple shares, or whatever amount that I want to choose. And when I make the transaction, oh, that amount of Bitcoin or Litecoin is gone. I sold them. And I now have these shares, and they are real. Just like they're as tangible as Bitcoin is. The certificate is, to me, more valid in a blockchain than it would have ever been in the history of all stock certificate for tangible purposes of for them to be valid. And I think that's going to happen soon. And even things like gold as a measure for levels to turn into cryptocurrencies. It would be so cool if I could be able to have it to my access for reasons because, well, Bitcoin I think is going to go down, or Litecoin, or I think just gold's ready for a surge. I think over the next 4 or 5 days, gold can make a 15% push. Litecoin or whatever one, I don't see doing anything. It's very neutral or bearish, either or. Yeah, let's get into the gold or silver that way. And if I want to do so, because I'm confidently able to do that, realizing that what I'm buying, I'm not like, oh, I hope I don't get screwed over on it. Whereas with, say, the US dollar Tether, I kind of feel kind of scared holding that cryptocurrency. At least for larger amounts, even to the point I haven't made a Tether trade in a long time. But you're in situations in here, well, you know what? Bitcoin didn't, or Webbot didn't say that Bitcoin would do well until around this time now, which is mid to late February. So I want to get out of the market. If you trusted Tether right now, it won because your Tethers were safe. You bought your Bitcoin or Litecoin back, I hope, by now. If you haven't, you're still able to, if you're able to get out, of course, at any of these periods above 10,000. And that's why I feel more secure if I ever have the opportunity, especially when I don't see any crypto that I like, to be able to get into stocks, get the S&P 500, SPY. Now I want to talk now about the stock market, because I do feel, and I'm going to use a different index. I'll just use SPY. Because I don't think this is going to happen where we have a major retracement anytime soon, but I think it could. Everyone seems to think that because we're in an economic collapse period, that the stock market has to crash. You'll hear from so many people over and over and over again. And the same people are going to be talking about how the dollar is going to collapse, hyperinflation through the roof. And I can remember when I had my first conversations with just real people about over 10 years ago. And the argument, maybe a little under, was in 2008, about the stock market crashing and having the dollar inflate like no other. And well, the person who actually introduced me into stock market originally was stating Well, if the dollar were to collapse and there's major hyperinflation, Germany style, or any of the majors that you talk about, well, that should mean that the stock market should also hyperinflate as well. And that's to me a very good point, because I think if there is a major dollar crisis, which could, to me, is what I would call what they say like a ticking time bomb, but quite frankly, it's pretty much at the point where it has to go off, but it should still take a little bit of time, even into the next decade. And on those situations, I think that the market would go much, much higher. But there's got to be situations where people are going to need to liquidate out, that we could see what we've seen many years ago in 2008-9. Let's go back to that just in here, where the markets just had a huge decline, as people are moving their money around to do what they need to do. And in situations, there's going to be large declines in stocks just because of that. So back in here, you would have known, like Apple and Google, companies that would survive the 2008 and 9 situation. And it's not really that year, it's which companies can be able to survive a situation where the dollar basically loses most to all of its value in this day and age. If you know it can, and you have a major reduction in the indices, that means those great companies are probably going to fall as well. And you want to talk about some bargain prices, that's how I'm going to be looking at it. This is always the key word, disclaimer in the more information box, because I look at it as a possibility to get amazing deals. Now, I'm hoping and expecting as we move into the future that we will see the situation of these indices, these stocks, these commodities available to be purchased throughout the blockchain. And just like you can have your Bitcoin on a Trezor wallet, you have your Litecoin on your Trezor wallet, or Nano Ledger, or KeepKey, or whichever hardware wallet that exists within its time frame, that you can have Amazon stocks, you could have SPY stocks, you could have, I was going to say Toyota, but I don't even know if they have Ford stocks, whatever, anything that's a stock. And if you're a company trying to do what traditionally you do, and that's get stocks, and I guess do your ICOs. I don't know how they call, I don't know how they call that in the stock business when you start off, but you can do the same thing within the this crypto space. So that to me it's almost a guarantee that the stocks are going to be on the blockchain. To me, I cannot see how it's not. Just even looking back here, this is 2015. Markets go from 210 down to like 182. 10% move. You'll see several situations where markets have these short-term fluctuations, some bigger than others. So when we get to where we stand today, maybe this is it. Maybe there'll be a small little bits of moves testing down towards, say, in here, 240 on the S&P, maybe one small leg lower, have you. Consolidate through time for a year. But ultimately speaking, I think stocks are going to hang in there. Whether the exchanges, how they're currently traded within, which is basically the banking systems today, I think a lot of it is how are they going to transition into the major changes. If a financial company is able to do so successfully, work within the blockchain technology in a positive manner, then they could succeed very well within. But I think if they don't, we might see a lot of Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers situations coming through. This is just a guesstimate, not even major research upon the situation. And it's unfortunate that I can't go in and take a look at like all of these different stock codes, but quite frankly, there's way too many of them. There's enough already in crypto space because there's like a good few dozen that you can look at. And here there's like S&P 500. There's 500 in the S&P, so there's a lot. Plus there's other ones, the smaller ones. It's crazy to say the least. And yeah, anyway, thank you for tuning in and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.